Welcome back to Tactics Talk with Guido. I appreciate you guys tuning in and supporting the channel as always. I have loaded in here to Mountain Pass in my STB-1 Tier 10, top tier in a 3.57, which is a good setup for me. You see there's quite a few artillery, but we are on Mountain Pass, so its effect is somewhat limited. So I spend a lot of time in my Tactics Talk talking about the high percentage plays, and I admonish people, suggest that they go with the high percentage play most of the time, if not all the time, really. But I'm going to say most of the time in this case, because every once in a while you want to try something a little bit different. And a lot of times we call these the low percentage plays, or something that has a high risk and high reward, which means you're probably going to end up getting waxed more often than you do well. Obviously, if you do these low percentage plays well, if you execute them well, then there can be a high payoff indeed. Now, I'm not talking about the, hey, I'm going to YOLO straight to B1 and try to get to their cap and drive around the cap until I actually cap them out from the very beginning of the game kind of ridiculous plays. But I'm talking about those low percentage, high risk, high reward plays. And there is an example of this on Mountain Pass. And you probably know what I'm thinking of. So in this case, I'm going to take my top tier medium and I'm going to head down into this middle bowl right here. Now, what are my other choices? My other choices are, make this a little bigger, go down here and play on the ice road, which is not a great idea in an STB-1. You need something with decent armor, and this is a very difficult place to flex to, or sorry, from. This is an all or nothing play right here. You're either going to push up and come up and push into their cap, or nothing. That's essentially it. The main battle is down here in the southwest. You've got to cross this open space, and you need to get at least up to this corner here, if not back behind this rock, or potentially up against a closer rock and a little bit of a hill right here, and then fight them in the brawl that happens right here. There's usually some sniper action going back and forth. Early damage is often here, hitting guys crossing here or hitting guys crossing here. The way you facilitate those lights is you put a light up on this corner where this WZ is going, or potentially you dive into this bowl and come up here and start spotting them. That's the low percentage play that I'm going to go with. And you'll note that I'm in my medium top tier. So I am consciously making a decision to remove my good gun and decent gameplay skills from the southwest, where it is most important, and I'm going to head down here for this high risk, high reward play. So what's the risk? Obviously that, getting spotted early. You're going to see an artillery is going to bounce in here. I'm jinking and jiving. I get shot by the WZ-132, or from the WZ-132. A little bit of splash. Now I've got a Lorraine 40T up on that side, and those are two of the dangers of trying to get in here onto this ramp that I'm about to start spotting on. Scouts here, guys up against this side over here, and the Lorraine where he was against that side right there. And I get pretty lucky that I don't take any more damage than I did, other than the splash damage. But there goes the light, facilitated by me, and here comes the high reward to the high risk part. Come up here in light, and I find a tortilla. A Tortois is sitting up here, and he has decided to be something of a mountain goat-ish kind of guy, although he has approached that from above there, and he is now soaking up shots from multiple directions. Now, one thing about having artillery on this one is, and I knew that obviously when I started, is that if I start lighting guys in this open area here, they're going to have a heyday and have all kinds of shots. The other thing that's nice about tier 10 mediums is the ridiculous accuracy of the guns. Does not take long to zoom in, and they have very good accuracy. So snapshotting plus a pretty darn good pen, being tier 10, gives you lots of options such as that, where without even going to my heat, I just pop some shots into them, a little bit of help from artillery, and down goes the Tortois. Looks like my scout gets hit. Now what's interesting is there's not that much hiding out up here. Usually when someone crosses, it draws them like moths to flame, and you'll find a few more guys in the middle, but I'm not finding anyone but this Lorraine at this point and the dead Tortoise. Now that's another lucky shot, just right into that little corner. But remember, when you start playing tier 9 and 10 tanks, especially the mediums, that's the kind of accuracy you're going to have, and those snapshots will be viable. They're viable in the lower tiers, but they're even more accurate up here. So I'm going to shift from that spot, and one thing about the middle here, a couple things. So when I dive in there, obviously you're vulnerable to them coming up to the edges like I talked about. If they dove a light and another medium or overmatched me down here, I'd probably die very quickly, as I have to then scrum with them, plus I get shot from these other guys. So those are the risks of going down there. The other risk is getting stuffed in there and not having an opportunity to get out of there. And it looks like I can cross over here and start working on the guys that are on the ice road, because we at least had them stopped and they weren't able to cross across and then start shooting me in the back. In addition, my tanks that went down to the southwest held and even won down there on the southwest and are pushing around. If they are able, they being the enemy, are able to win down here in the southwest and push around this corner and get up on this hill, then I'm done pretty quickly as well. So a lot of vulnerabilities, very difficult to get out of that little space right there unless the rest of your team does a decent job, which mine ends up doing for me. I go to heat. Now I say for me, obviously it's not for me, it's more or less another shot, and here's I go, goes right in the dirt. It's more or less happenstance that they did well. I'm not platooned with them. There's no comms. Another lucky shot. He hits me in the side. But these are the things that you have to realize when you are making these kind of high-risk, high-reward moves. Sometimes they just don't work out, which is why I don't really recommend them too much. I see this 5100 coming down. I'm surprised that he keeps coming. If he's not paying attention to my turret, he had to know that I was pointing at him, but he just keeps on trucking. I use a heat round on him, which I did not need, unfortunately. And I'll come back around here. And now I do a bit of a mistake here. I'm looking for the 100. I don't really want to get hit by him if I don't have to. He's got the small gun, but he still hits pretty hard. And I'm also a little bit worried about the T-32, who's pretty much being handled by the two guys up there, but I don't really want him to be able to turn around and start shooting me in the back. So this causes me a bit of indecision right here. Good news that right now is the 100 doesn't see me. He's busy with the IS-7. I put a shot into his lower plate, and of course I leave him with 1%. Why wouldn't I? I'm a little bit worried about what this Lorraine is doing, but he looks to be busy. And there he goes. He goes down, so I don't have to worry about him anymore. And I mess around with this dumb T-32 a little bit too much. He's keeping me spotted a bit for this E-100, unfortunately. The E-100 keeps thinking, well, I'm going to come around and take another shot on him. And the artillery ends up whacking that guy. So what I really wish I had done right now is go right up the ice road and start taking on the tanks up there. But I'm still sort of trying to get that fadeaway jumper shot at the T-32, just messing around like a buffoon here, and it just takes me a while to get going. But I'm up to 3,600. I've got 1,200 spotting, 550 blocked, if you can believe it. And now I'm going to come up and find a bunch of tanks all stacked up here. Looks like their arty has moved forward, so that's actually helpful, and that they're missing me, which is also helpful. Another shot into him, and now I've got a bunch of friends. So the rest of these guys go down pretty quick. Think I might get a kill off of him. Nope, he's done. Double tap him with somebody else, because I only did 264 his damage. And I'll end up with the second shot on him as well. And that is pretty much it. There's one more Scorpion running away, and he will get killed by the guys getting onto cap. Looks like the IS-7 is salty at the 50 for some reason and shoots at him, or maybe it was the T-44, I guess, in that case. And there you have it. One of those high-risk, high-reward, kind of low percentage plays ends up working out. Now, as long as you have a reason for doing what you're doing and you execute it well, you can often have a pretty good game out of it. So this ends up being 4,700, 1,500 blocked, 5 kills. Not an epic game. I think it was a class 1 or something like that. I'll put the stats up afterwards. But still a reasonable game, a pretty good game. Pretty important towards the win, all that kind of thing. I just want to throw that out there. And there are multiple examples of these on different maps where it's a very forward and exposed position, but it actually has a pretty good capability to turn the tide and help your team out, provided you don't get rolled up real early. And there are, on all of these low percentage kind of plays, there are definite counter plays that can wreck it quickly. So just don't get salty. You know, if you try these things, make sure you don't get salty just because you got rolled up. If you're well overextended like I was there and you get rolled up, then you really have no one to blame but yourself. But just throw that out. You know, sometimes you just want to get out there and have a good time. All right, guys, I hope you like what you saw. I hope you learned something. If you did, make sure you subscribe and keep the videos coming. If you got anything you want me to take a look at, anything you think is pretty cool or just an epic game that you would like featured on the channel, send it in to me and I will take a look. We will see ya.